Welcome to Screen Quest, a podcast where a fellowship of film lovers and armchair movie experts plays film roulette. I'm one of your hosts, Chris Waterman from Jacksonville, joined by May Finch, also of Jacksonville.
Hello.
And of course, we have Mr. Will Rotondi from Greenville, South Carolina. I don't know why I threw the cities in there all of a sudden, like after not doing it for like a year, but whatever.
It's like the residual memory, of like muscle memory from doing it so long before. Yeah, it's kicking back in, man. But yeah, hey, what's going on?
Not too much on today's episode. We are doing our penultimate holiday special for 2023, talking about Violent Night. We'll be drawing another side quest and winterizing it, so to speak, talking about it with a holiday bend. But first, here's a little update on Godzilla Fest 2023. Specifically, I'm going to give a quick little review of Godzilla Minus One. And if you guys want to ask a couple of questions or weigh in, anything you're curious on, I'll be happy to answer them. I will try to keep this mostly spoiler free because I feel like this is it's a film you should just sit back and enjoy. But yeah, I've seen it finally in IMAX, and it was amazing. Maybe my favorite Godzilla film ever. It's certainly the only film that I think in that whole series of, what did we say, 28 Japanese films that is potentially better would be the original. But I don't know. I'd have to watch this one again and make a final verdict. But it was that fabulous. Very serious in tone. Really, really emotional moments, and just a lot of heart and poignancy that I even knew going into the film that there was going to be there, and I was still surprised by how well executed it was. And I think the best thing I could say about it is you could remove Godzilla from the film and it would still be an amazing story. Just the core of the story is actually really, really touching and heartfelt. My wife, who has just rolled her eyes at every single Godzilla film that I've been watching, as she's walked into the room, turned to me when it was over. She was like, that was amazing. I loved it. Didn't like it, didn't think it was just good. This is not me at the end of a Marvel movie being like, yeah, it was good. She's like, I love that movie. Holy shit. So there you go. There's a little review from Mariana as well. I do think if you can catch it on the big screen, it's worth your time. There's enough sort of sequences that justify the price ticket of going to the movies and having the bigger screen and the sound. But I think you'd find it just as enjoyable at home as well. I think probably my last thing I'll add before I'll open it up if you guys have questions about it is the budget was advertised to me as 15 million, and the director was like, oh, I wish that our budget was that much. And when you see this movie, it looks like it is far more expensive than that. So I don't know if it's we overpay actors in America. I'm sure that's part of it, but the VFX were not at all oh, this isn't good for a studio outside of the US. They were eye-poppingly good. So well done to whoever managed to wrangle the budget out of whatever it was. But I guess it's made its money back already in the States, just with its run, I should say, in the States, and it certainly seems to be on track to do very well worldwide, which is makes me happy, because I think I enjoy my American Godzilla interpretations. They've been fun, but it was cool to see a serious Godzilla film where he's a symbol of some social issues, and have all that be really, really good again. So now I'll be quiet. So would you guys like to know anything spoiler free about the film? Any thing that you're wondering about?
I have a question and a comment.
Yes.
My comment is just that I love that you found a way to get in a Marvel dig in there. Listeners, go back in case you missed it, but you did get a Marvel dig in there.
It was vicariously through my way. She was giving and taking vicariously through me on the podcast. But yeah.
And my question is, why is it called Godzilla Minus One, or is that a spoiler? Is it a prequel?
No, so it's not a spoiler. Like, in the marketing, like, they discuss in both the trailers and then like as a concept with interviews. So it takes place, if you like period pieces, like you're in for a treat because it's takes place during and then like after World War II in Japan. And the minus one refers to the fact that Japan is completely ravaged by like World War II and just in the process of rebuilding, and then this thing comes along and sets them back to like even like a negative state. They're like, we got reduced to zero, and then now we're at a negative state because we like in the middle of like trying to rebuild our country, this thing shows up. um so yeah, that's where the minus one comes from.
Okay. It's a lot more serious than just fun prequel numbering.
There's very few things. There's a lot of exciting things about this movie, and it is unabashedly like the director loves Jaws. You can tell he loves Jaws. Lots of references to Jaws, and sort of like the way that the plot unfolds is very Jaws like. But so there's heart pounding sequences, but I wouldn't call the movie like fun necessarily, like in the way that like again the American films, no dig at them because I've really enjoyed them, like are kind of like fun where it's like, oh, like it's monsters fighting each other and like there's no consequences, like, and like it's just all like collateral like that is not like with this movie. Like it feels properly like terrifying. Like what you're seeing on screen is like disturbing because it feels like what it would really be like for a monster attack and how people would be affected and stuff. That being said, really good references to like the original, like everything from like the music to like just like little like subtle Easter eggs. So like as a person who's now watched through like most of the old ones, like I was just giddy as a schoolboy, like just pointing out things and just really appreciating the reverence and love that went into it without making you feel like you were missing out if you were an audience member like who hadn't watched through 28 of the prior like films. You know what I mean? But no prequel. It's a original story, kind of like just a reboot to answer that question.
Very cool.
Nice.
Yep. I urge you both to see it. Catch it on a matinee, like whatever. I saw that they had like 4DX showings of that, and I'm like, what does Godzilla smell like? Like, because I guess they do like scents and stuff, and your chairs move with 4DX. So I'm like, I'm curious to see what that's all about. But have you either of you been to a 4DX movie? I never have. It's kind of a newfangled thing, and I'm like, I'm kind of scared that I'd be annoyed by it, but
I feel like it would just be a waste of money for me because I have a terrible sense of smell.
Yeah, that could be a good thing if like sometimes like fake smells like are more chemically than anything else, like where like you can tell what they're going for, but it's like a bad air freshener where you're like so maybe that'd be a good thing, not having a good sense of smell. I don't know.
Still, it feels like being someone who gets nauseous from 3D glasses and intentionally going to a 3D movie.
Yeah, maybe. And like the seats moving, like I feel like that might like startle me or like annoy me. I don't know, like depending on what the range of motion is. I have been to a D-box film, which is like where the speakers are in the chair and like they'll kind of like vibrate and shake a little bit more, and that was fine. Like that was fun. Like I didn't know that we were in a D-box film when we were there. So I was very confused for like the first 20 minutes of Deadpool 2, which is the movie we saw. But then I realized like, oh, this is like some gimmick with the gotcha. But anyway, if you guys see it, let me know. If you want to go with a pal, May, I'm your guy. I would absolutely go see it again. I would go see it again. Twice more, honestly. Like that's how much I enjoyed it. So very good. That is your update for Godzilla Fest. All right, let's see what our side quest that we're gonna winterize, as I keep saying, like is gonna be. It is music to my ears, which is one of our newer side quests. The prompt is talk about a piece of music, popular or original, used to great effect in a film. It's the same rules as last week. We can all go, and I'm sure this is gonna be really hard because there's never been any good Christmas music ever used in a film. So I'm being sarcastic, of course. This should be hopefully be a fairly easy one for all of us. And it doesn't have to be an original composition. It could literally be a pop, piece of music like that's used in a Christmas film.
But I have to go with Home Alone. I have to go with John Williams' score at Home Alone. I always recognize that tune, and I know what movie it is that's getting referenced.
Oh yeah, yeah. You're talking about sort of the whimsical,
Like the da 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 da.
yeah,
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
absolutely.
100%. Every time I hear it, I'm like, yeah. Yeah, yeah. And I won't. There was another thing that came to mind too, but I'm not going to double dip because I don't want to take away any other options. But yeah, Home Alone for sure. And just thinking about some of the antics that go on in those movies, which will actually tie in well to the film we're going to talk about today. But that's pretty much where I'll leave it. So,
Oh yeah. Oh, there's a reference or two. That's for sure. May, do you have one?
Yeah, I was looking it up because I guess that it's just called the Polar Express, but the really famous song from Polar Express that talks about the Polar Express. I heard that song a bunch before I ever saw the movie Polar Express. And it was such a jarring experience for me because I loved the song and then I saw the movie and I really just hate that animation style. It's just so slightly uncanny. And I was like mildly disturbed the whole movie.
You're not
It,
alone.
it definitely is a little bit like, yeah, unsettling. And there's that really annoying kid too, the little know-it-all. Like, oh God.
Mm-hmm.
I kept hoping that he was gonna get like Indiana Jones out there, like no ticket.
Aww.
So yeah, I didn't like the movie, but it did not completely ruin the song for me. So I don't know, maybe this is an example of one that didn't work well with its music, but the music is good. The music is great.
I believe the
Maybe,
prompt just says memorable, so like
yeah, oh, I remembered it.
yeah. Or used to great effect, but yes. Yeah.
There was a great effect.
Yeah. Traumatizing. Yeah.
It was my turn to talk about childhood trauma.
Polar Express and ET. Got it. Cool. Man, how about
Yeah.
you, Chris? What you got?
For me, I probably have to go like it's the sappiest, stupidest thing. Like, but I feel like it works so well again context. But Mariah Carey's "All I Want for Christmas" in the pageant scene of Love Actually, where the little boy, like you're like, oh, is he gonna pull it off? Like he's been practicing. Like how's this gonna go? And he's playing, and like you have all the characters together, and you finally get to see his little like girl crush, and like, I've always like that sequence because it's a feel good moment, in a film that has its ups and downs. Like I always forget there's some really sad bits to that movie too, like for a Christmas film. But hey, that's real life, right? But yeah, I like that one a lot. And I've never been particularly fond of that song. Like I think it's fine. Like I'm not a hater or anything, but I think that's a good example of how you can use a popular song and tie it into like it's I guess we consider diegetic music, right? Because she's supposed to be singing. And for our audience, I think we may have covered this one time, but the difference between diegetic and non-diegetic music in film is diegetic is like something that the characters in the film can hear and we can hear as the audience, whereas non-diegetic would be like I don't know, something that's like part of the score or soundtrack that the characters are not experiencing with us. So yeah, that's my pick. You guys love Actually fans? The Brits hate that movie apparently. they think it's like the worst portrayal of Brits, and also just like don't understand the American love of it. I've always liked it, but how do you guys feel about Love Actually?
I have a tiny Grinch heart.
Oh, yeah. Shout out to the Grinch as well for soundtracks.
Yeah. Tiny Grinch
and
heart.
Charlie Brown while we're at it.
Well, now you got to expound. I want to know, like, what is it? Too cheesy?
It's just like the cheesiness and like the like melodrama, and I don't know. It was not like the cozy watch I was expecting from how it's hyped up.
There's some like, I mean, again, like the whole like Alan Rickman subplot is really sad. But the more I've watched that movie over the years, because it's pretty much almost always like every year kind of thing for us, I've come to appreciate that like everyone's holiday experience is different. And sometimes some years like you have good, nice like holidays, and sometimes they suck for a reason or another. So I've chosen to like appreciate it and like hope that like that maybe they're trying to cover the whole human spectrum there, and like, you know, everyone's going through something different, right? Some are hopeful and like nice. And even though like that film is filled with like cliches, like I enjoy the comedic bits are my favorite, like the rock and roll star that's having his like the Bill Nye like
Yeah.
stuff where he's just, like stripping on TV because he beat out the little like boy band and stuff. Like, but I get it. Like, trust me, I do. I know like not everyone's fond of it. So you you're dismissed from like Grinch status on this one. I think like that's just a taste
Okay.
thing.
Thank
So yeah,
you.
yeah. We won't hammer that point home. I think like you're in pretty good company there. It's not like, you know, if you were like to say, hey, a little preview for like later, like, oh, I think like Gizmo the Mogwai is like a stupid piece of shit. I want to kick him. Like, well, then Grinch status is gonna be like reinstated. But anyway, thank you both for sharing. This was a perfect category for to winterize. So thanks for sharing your favorite or most memorable Christmas music from a film. Now it's time to turn it over to Mr. Rotondi to guide us through a discussion of our main quest, which is Violent Night, Will's selection for 2023. So, Will, take it away.
Sweet. So Violent Night came out back in like 2022, which doesn't, I mean, geez, it was like about just around a year ago, maybe, that it happened. I can't remember. Time is still like distorted in my brain, but came out in 2022, stars David Harbour, as well as John Leguizamo, Beverly D'Angelo, Alex Hassel, and Alexis Louder. And was honestly, I don't remember how people felt when this movie came out. I just remember seeing it and thinking that it would be like Die Hard meets Santa Claus or John Wick meets Santa Claus. And so that was like what really got me excited to just give it a shot and then subject you all to it a year later. So basically, in a nutshell, not a very extensive plot to go over because I think we'll probably talk about most of the plot points as we go through the film. So I'm just going to really short and sweet say that this is about a drunk, disgruntled Santa Claus who has lost his faith in humanity and thinks that maybe it's time to just hang it all up and not worry about delivering presents anymore. But while he's out on his delivery route, he ends up thwarting the plans of a bunch of mercenaries who have attempted to rob this wealthy family out at their estate. And then in following in the steps of Die Hard and other violent films of that nature, Santa ends up getting involved, kicks a bunch of ass, gets his mojo back, and ends up saving a young girl named Trudy, played by, and I apologize if I mispronounce her name, but I want to say it's Leah Brady, and also ends up saving her parents too. And they all have, I guess, a happy Christmas at the end of it, sort of, after going through like a lot of trauma and dismemberment and other bloody things along the way. So with that in mind, how did you all feel about watching Violent Night? And May, I'll turn it over to you first.
This is another one where I'm not sure exactly how to feel about it. I had strong moments. I had moments that had me scratching my head, and I watched this yesterday, and I still haven't figured out some things. I do think that like attempt at like I think my biggest head scratcher is just like the attempt at addressing like class and class politics is very ham-fisted and weird. I think that's the main source of kind of confusion I have with the film. Aside from that, it feels very I would say it's more Deadpool than Die Hard. At least in like the way a lot of the like action happens, a lot of the choreography. I do think the origin story they come up with for Santa is interesting. I appreciate the kind of hand wavy approach to world building because I think it's an action movie that's at least like knows that it's not really trying to establish a whole like magic system for Santa and like really go too much into the backstory. It's mostly just about Santa beating up people. And I felt like the hand waviness kind of worked to its favor in that regard. And yeah, I think the heart of the movie was 100% the dynamic between Trudy and Santa. And I do want to give a small shout out. I should have pulled up IMDb the one time I don't. But the actress that plays the sister of in the Rich Family is also in Righteous Gemstones, and she's hilarious. I loved her.
How was that? Edie Patterson?
Edie Patterson, there you go.
Thank you. So yeah, overall, definitely a different kind of Christmas movie. I thought it was good. Yeah.
I mean, it was exactly as advertised. I did really appreciate the Santa lore aspects. Like I thought the opening sequence was brilliant. Like it's like really, really emotional, and you're like, oh man, like it sucks, dude. Like you can kind of feel where he's coming from, right? And then he just barfs out the top of the sled. And I feel like that perfectly sets the tone of what this movie is gonna be. Like there's gonna be some heart and some poignancy, but like first and foremost, it is like a comedy, right? But I think it mostly worked for me. Like I agree with May. I think the amount of times that he's like, I don't really know how it works, like perfect. That's what you should stick to. Like with something like this, if they like went like 10 minutes deep into him like meeting some mythical creature that like gifted them the powers back in Norway or something like that, like I genuinely didn't even need to know that he was a Viking. Like maybe they wanted to just explain like why he's able to like whoop ass. Like I was fine if it just like turns out Santa's good at fighting. Like I would have accepted that, but like sure, okay, he's a Viking. I think David Harbour's amazing in the role, does a really good job with it. And I agree also with May that I think the chemistry was perfect between him and what's her name, the little girl, Trudy. Yes, perfect. My favorite bits of the movie as well. I think all the sort of way that the film unfolds, also agree it was a bit uneven, and that when they try to get serious about something other than the spirit of Christmas, it didn't really work for me. And so I had to just like stop trying to take the film. Like I was trying to take it too serious at points. Like I got really invested in the security guard, and then like he dies, and I was like, well, that sucks. And I was like, oh well, it's an action movie. Like he's like the guards in Die Hard, right? Like he's there just to like be a body as part of the body count. Okay. And ditto with the bad guys and stuff, like I loved how like comic book they were, and just like each person was just fodder for the grinder. And when more showed up, I was like, oh yeah, all right, here we go. Like now we can really have a high body count with like just like a big slaughter that I know is coming at some point because all these guys just showed up. The last thing I'll say, I really like think it's a good example of like Easter eggs done well, like or like references to like a film done well, where it feels like it's got its own identity, but also is not ashamed to like show reverence for the Christmas action movies that came before, whether it is Home Alone or Die Hard. But yeah, solid overall. I mean, I had a good time. Like it's as advertised, and it did everything that I would want it to do, I think.
Well, speaking about references to other films, I mean, obviously the Home Alone one's the big one, since they're talking about it, and then the traps that you see later, and even like the little throwaway line about Die Hard when he's pulling gifts out of his sack, and he's got like, what was it, Die Hard on Blu-ray, I think he said, when he like tosses it. So were there any other I guess any other little references, Easter eggs that caught your eye that you thought about when you were watching the film about other either action movies or about action Christmas films?
I mean, the whole film, there's definitely like it's the Die Hard like is, I think, like the biggest influence with the heist theme, and like they make the reference to like drilling into the vault and all that kind of stuff. I did also like, I think just having Beverly D'Angelo in the film, like it's just like one big nod almost to Christmas Vacation. Like it's a good casting because I think people automatically are going to kind of associate her with the Griswold family. But I appreciated that they didn't have her playing the same character. Like I love even though she's deplorable, like the foul mouth, like matriarch, was nice. Just to see that departure because I thought she was pretty funny. Um, I don't know if there's anything else. I'm sure there was some Lethal Weapon references in there, but I'll be damned if I can remember.
This isn't an action movie reference, and I'm trying to think like where else have I seen this archetype because it's a relatively new archetype. But the big example I can think of is Knives Out, but like the kind of like shithead alt-right teen streamer boy like archetype.
Yeah.
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 Hashtag blessed.
Yeah.
Bertrude.
Bertrude, really great name.
Yeah.
Solid.
Yeah, I'm struggling on the other action references. I'm sure there's more nitty-gritty specific stuff, but yeah, as Chris said, I just think it's overall like a huge homage to Die Hard that has smaller in-universe references to things like Home Alone.
For sure. A lot more realistic and violent interpretations of what Home Alone really would have been like. I think we even talked about it too. Like if the traps that Kevin had set up in those films were actually real, like Marv and Harry would have been murdered about 4 or 5 times over, or at least like physically disabled. And so watching this, I feel like that was probably the stuff that got to me the most. Like even kind of going into it expecting cartoonish hyper violence, like and I'm blanking on like their code names, which was another thing I loved about the movie, but like please hold.
Yeah, there was like Krampus and like I don't remember.
Gingerbread.
Like, gingerbread, yeah.
When Gingerbread gets the nail through his jaw,
Oh,
and then he falls and he gets his ass full of nails, and oh my gosh, dude, that part just ugh. Yeah. So speaking of, in terms of the hyperviolence, did you, and this could go either direction, either like your favorite murder, or perhaps the murder that made you cringe the most that Santa inflicted, or that Trudy did inflicted on somebody. And Chris, I'll toss it over to you first.
My favorite is easily the Mortal Kombat-esque fatality for Scrooge at the end. Like, sorry to jump ahead, but like I just loved, like, it is so Mortal Kombat. Santa just drags him up the chimney, and Santa can make it up and out the chimney, but he can't because he's human or whatever, not magical. And just like it was so fucking over the top, and like something you would see. I don't know, Mortal Kombat, The Boys, like whatever. Like I was like, why not? Yeah, this is amazing. Like, what a creative way to take out a bad guy. So easy, my favorite.
Solid. How about you, man?
I'm gonna pick the one murder that, well, I think almost the one that Santa and Trudy weren't responsible for, and it was killing Krampus because it was Linda, Alva, and the kid all ganging up on Krampus and like using it as a bonding moment. After bickering about who should be killed. And it was like, I don't know, just like the weirdest example of family coming together on Christmas. But very on theme, you know?
Thinking about it too, as like weird as Krampus was, he was also like one of the more entertaining, I feel like, in terms of just being bizarre. Like he was the one who'd be like, yeah, okay, I'll touch this dude's junk to put it in this nutcracker, or whatever the dumb stuff was that came off the top of their heads to do. Did you happen to have a favorite code name or a favorite mercenary character at any point? Or was it mostly just like, they're just cartoons and disposable and they're all kind of about the same?
I liked, I think it was she Candy Cane? The blonde with short hair that was like going after Trudy.
Yeah, it is Candy Cane. Yep.
Okay. I liked her just because she's the one that's like when the new bad guys arrive and they're all kind of catching each other up, they're like, she's like, oh, and he might be actual Santa Claus.
Yeah.
Like
yeah. Yeah. And the other guy's like, the fuck did she just say? Like, everybody is just like, are you serious right now? Like, listen to yourselves. I think it's the best part is when they didn't like some of them started to feel like maybe this was true in spite of all the weird stuff they saw in front of them, and they're like, but no, this can't be right. Like, no, I'm not gonna believe that. I don't know. But I guess for us, like as the audience too, and Chris, you made a the point about how you were glad that we didn't really get too much of an explanation as to how Santa has all these superpowers and that he doesn't even know, really. But how it was kind of interesting, but not in your opinion, you were like, yeah, it's kind of cool to see what he was like, his his warrior heritage, is sort of like a little flashback to kind of get some history there, but not too much because you didn't really feel like it was, all that necessary. And the film probably could have dropped it, and had the same effect. But I think that I don't know, it was interesting to see like that was where they wanted to take it. And also, I don't know, for me, I was surprised by how much of like a buildup there was to him sort of wanting to just go on his like kick-ass rampage. Because I mean, from watching the trailers, I thought, okay, this is gonna be like, the entire movie, he's just going to be going at it. And so then watching the film to start with, and you're like, okay, so he's disgruntled, he's unhappy, he doesn't think this job's panning out. But there's no like violence or anything involved. It's just drunk Santa, or bad Santa. And then, he gets his butt kicked pretty good a couple of 2 or 3 times before he's finally like, all right, I got my hammer and now we're going to go for it. So I think in some respects, did you find it interesting that there was sort of like a little bit of a delay leading up to when he finally kind of gets his groove back? Or was that just sort of like, you knew it was coming, so you went along with it anyway? You're like, I have patience. I know it's going to happen at some point.
I think they telegraphed it pretty well. Like you kind of the opening of the film and then having Trudy like in that discussion with like the radio and stuff, like I feel like I was like, all right, she's gonna be the thread that brings him back, right? Because she's like a child and she believes, and like the thing that she wants is not like a gift or materialistic. And like I was like, all right, it's gonna be again, it felt like kind of that format of Die Hard, right? Where he has a confrontation, it goes poorly. He's on the radio with her. That's very John McClane talking to Al Powell, right? Like a little bit. And then he goes into like third act like ass kicking mode, right? Like, all right, it's time to get moving. So yeah, it's predictable, but fine. Like, I don't think that's a strike against it necessarily.
I agree. It was a bit predictable, but I liked that like part of his in-universe, like getting his mojo back, was just finding a sledgehammer.
Yeah.
He just needed the right tool,
Like, yes. Now we're talking.
And also I liked I wish like we'd gotten to see Mrs. Claus even for a scene. I guess they didn't want to like hire an actress for that, but
I fast forwarded all through the credits, hoping for a post credit like who is it going to be? Yeah. So I'm with you.
Yeah. But like I want to know what kind of a woman like sends both a new bag and Skull Crusher just in case she's not sure what Santa needs, but like it's neither or.
Who would you cast if you had like budget wasn't an issue?
Oh goodness. That's hard. You tell me your answer first, because I'm thinking of someone but blanking on their name.
You know who'd be amazing would be Pam Grier. Like I'd do Pam Grier. She'd be fucking amazing as a Mrs. Claus.
Solid.
Very nice.
She was an action heroine in her own right, like in the 70s especially, and had some like resurgence with Jackie Brown, and like was in Escape from LA and stuff. So that'd be my pick. That'd be awesome.
Oh yeah. I was mentally thinking of Jessica Chastain, just because she seems like a very pragmatic woman in a lot of her roles.
Oh sure,
I can see it. Yeah.
Good, definitely.
Nice.
But she's got that nice red hair, red for Christmas.
Hey, there, yeah, nice. Yeah. I think Mrs. Claus understood the assignment kind of like Dude Man did in The Thing, where it's like, I just need a flamethrower. I need it right now. He needs that hammer. Something's going on. He needs it. I don't know, man. I might I will accept. I will see your Jessica Chastain, and I will raise you a Kate Blanchett, just because I love Kate Blanchett.
It's a good one.
That's a solid choice.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
this is a compliment, but she is kind of like elfish looking, which is why she was perfect for like Lord of the Rings. Like she has very delicate features, so that'd be cool.
I'm trying to see if there's anything else I really had on the docket to ask you guys about, but that might actually have it covered. I will say, and I don't know if this will be relevant to any sort of discussion, but I think that there were a couple of moments in the movie that sort of made me want to throw my popcorn. Which I know, like, for a film like this to be like nitpicky is kind of a silly thing. So I don't really hold it too much against it, because it's just, when in doubt, just the excuse is magic, or we don't know the answer. But I don't know if radios have developed well enough for that style to be able to talk back and forth over the top of each other like you're on a phone. I know some allow for that, but I don't know if it's sort of like that little plot device where characters interrupt each other or finish each other's sentences and hear each other on two-way radios, and it's like, it's not really how that works. But it's okay. But between that and also like Santa running, like leaving a fully operational snowmobile to chase down other people on snowmobiles, taking using a makeshift sled. I know clearly for the fact that it was him to do that, like a sleigh, or but I just thought there's no way that dude's gonna catch up to them. I know he's fast and he's like this ancient warrior, but there's just no way. And then he ends up on another snowmobile anyway to chase the last couple guys down. So I just thought, the weird stuff they want to throw in there just for the sake of the plot seemed kind of funny and gimmicky. But were there any other moments where you guys thought like, okay, what's going on? That made you just sort of step back and think, oh, that's dumb, or really?
Unfortunately for me, it was like the end of the movie, and it's not that guy, it's not Scrooge getting dismembered on his way up the chimney. Funny enough, I was like, that checks out in universe. But it was them all just having to say, oh, I believe in Santa, when huddled around his corpse for him to back to life. And I was like, okay, that I could see from several miles away. And no, I don't like this like weird attempt at like wholesomeness, and very stereotypical wholesomeness after such a like violent and irreverent movie. So yeah, that I was mad about.
It was fine
Do you
with
think
it
it would
either
have been
way.
better if he just regenerated just without an explanation? Like he's just back, like it's just Santa magic and he's like immortal.
Yeah. Like
Yeah,
I wish he'd kind of like he'd woken up at that moment and then made some comment like, "Oh, I was just napping."
it's walking it off. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's plenty, but like I said early on, I like turned off the part of my brain where I was like, I'm gonna really be mad or nitpick like anything about this like movie, and I had way more fun. I think it's just because I was a little bit lulled into how serious like the movie like seems to start off, where like when stuff started going down, I was like, what? And then I was like, ah, of course, this is just an action movie, like whatever, and it just made it so much more fun. So,
Hmm.
um, yeah, if I had to pick something from a character standpoint, I feel like the dad goes from being like somebody that I like was pretty warm towards to being like, well, I don't like you now. You're just like everybody else. And they don't really do anything to recover that, really, like at all. Like he doesn't really earn himself back in anyone's good graces. And the film kind of just shrugs and goes like, yeah, what do you expect? Like they're rich, like they're all bad people. Like we couldn't do anything different than that. And it's like, okay, I guess like that's fine. But um it's an action movie, so it's like whatever. I'm fine with it, I suppose.
Did you think that the dad might be in on it a little bit before you kind of figured out what the angle was from everybody there?
No, not really. Like once he handed her the gift and then was like, don't read the letter, then I was like, when they discovered the money was missing, then I knew. I was 100% confident that that's what happened to the money.
That's when I caught on to.
I don't remember if this was in this film or another one, but like in case I've not talked about it before on the podcast, one of my least favorite action tropes is somebody has a gun, the other person doesn't have a gun, and to punctuate that they have a gun, they like get closer to the person and threaten them so that they're like within arm's reach. I hate that trope where I'm like, I know you have to somehow realistically disarm this person, but it's the stupidest thing. Like that's not how guns work. Like the closer you get, the less of an advantage you have with a gun. Like so, it's very much an action movie thing. And I think there might have been a moment in this, and I was like, oh, here we go. We're gonna like get closer. Like don't move. Like, but let me take 5 steps towards you, like with my assault rifle. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but it's a pet peeve of mine.
I agree. Or like they given us like an unnecessary amount of pause between their threat and actually wanting to follow through with it to give somebody else the advantage to intervene that has somehow miraculously materialized to their left or right or wherever that they didn't hear, that is somehow just like right there and just like gets them first. Yeah.
That's
Agreed.
Christmas magic right there.
Yeah, in snow no less. Like, you know, trudging through the snow and somehow like didn't hear that they snuck up beside you.
Yeah.
That's military training. Yeah, good job, guys.
Yeah, Beverly D'Angelo is as quiet as a mouse, apparently.
Oh.
It's okay. I was like I said, the more you think about it, the dumber like all that is. But like if you can just enjoy it for what it is, it's fine.
You God, impaled by like a Christmas star or not well, yeah, stuck in your eye, yeah. Or
And then
getting
Electrocuted,
yeah.
And set
Getting
on
sucked
fire.
into a wood chipper.
The wood chipper thing was funny though. It was very Indiana Jones where you're like, he's going in there. As soon as you see he cranks it up, you're like, well, at least one person's getting in there. Like
You're like, oh, more than one. Oh man. Solid.
Here's the inevitable sequel question. Does this movie need a sequel? Do you think they'll make a sequel?
Yes.
Yeah,
They will
probably
make
will.
one. And hopefully it will have Mrs. Claus in it.
Yeah.
That is the one thing we need a sequel for.
Yeah.
I agree.
I would kind of love it if they just did like a complete tone switch. They just like were like, hey, let's do a different kind of like genre homage compilation, but made it like Love Actually style. So it's like their romance, how Santa Claus and Mrs. Claus got together.
Nice.
Yep. I could see that. Yeah, I do like that, like the idea of them doing like a different genre. If it's going to be called Violent Night 2, though, like you'd have to do something where there is like some, I would imagine, like elements of that.
They're Vikings, so his great act of love is going and conquering a nearby nation.
There you go. I'd love like
Violent Night -1.
What do you call it? An homage to Black Christmas, which I've not seen, but I like people love. It's a horror slasher film that was directed by the same guy who made A Christmas Story. And apparently it's brilliant. Like the love that people have. And like as a genuinely good Christmas film, supposedly. I'm so curious that I think I might try to watch it this year. But like I'd like to see like Santa being the killer. So like turning that on its head where it's like he's kind of doing the same thing as this film, but like you're kind of rooting for the slasher kind of thing, like not just with innocent kids and family people obviously, but like with some sort of hostage situation or something would be kind of fun. I think
the military tries to intercept him as like a UFO and they're like we've caught him.
Yeah, amazing.
And then he just starts murdering everybody. No.
Yeah, I am curious what they will do, and I'm with May. I think like if Mrs. Claus is in and it's somebody good, then like okay, you'll have my curiosity at least.
Well, that's all I've got for questions, unless you guys have any last thoughts or questions of your own, anything else we didn't cover or that you wanted to make sure that we threw a shout out to.
David Harbour's a surprisingly convincing Santa, just like I like a lot of people look very fake in like the white hair and beard, but maybe it's just like his costuming and makeup person, but like it looks very natural on him.
He does a good Santa
Agreed.
laugh too,
Yeah.
in a way that was
Yeah.
overly hokey. Like when he's like, oh, oh, oh. I was like, ah, man, nice. I like that.
Agreed.
And just as an addendum, I did look at the Wikipedia page, and apparently, yes, there's a potential sequel, and they are eyeing Charlize Theron as Mrs. Claus, which, okay.
Oh,
That's cool. I could buy that. I was thinking,
Furiosa.
I was almost
Yeah.
gonna say her actually before. Yeah, nice.
So why not? I say,
Furiosa, man.
that'll be a discussion for another time, but I'm very excited. Hoping that trailer is indicative of the final product. George Miller hasn't let me down yet. So anyway.
Nice.
Oh, dude, Santa Claus, like what would be like a Fury Road like pun that you could do, like Cheery Road or something like that. Like Violent Night Cheery Road. Just Mrs. Claus, like with like a, I don't know, like a candy cane shotgun, just like steering the reindeer. Oh, amazing. Give me a chase
The
film with the Santa sleigh. Hell yeah.
the Candy Dome. I don't know.
Yeah.
Nice.
Beyond Candy Dome.
Nice. Or Candyland.
Candyland. Oh man, that's right for like a adaptation. I'm not really up on my Candyland lore. It's been many years since I played that game, but I seem to remember lots of locations and characters. I'm surprised nobody's done that.
Oh, Shoots and Ladders. Candyland.
Shoots and Ladders was like the lame version. I can't. Candyland was way cooler than Shoots and Ladders. If for no other reason than like the design of the board and like the cards and stuff were cool. Nice job with the pick, buddy. I liked it.
I'm
Yes.
glad.
Thank you for suggesting this, Will.
You're welcome. It's a nice tonal shift from Hallmark, I guess. Maybe.
Netflix Hallmark.
That's right. That's right. Its own genre. So excellent. All right. Well, I guess we have to transition over and play a quick game before we talk about the next film that's coming up.
Yeah.
So for this round, we're doing a shot in the dark, which is where I ask one of my co-hosts about a film they've never seen before. And I ask them to tell me what they think the plot involves. And then we all have a good laugh about either how close they are or how far away, or if we think that plot would have actually been better than what we knew the film was going to be. So, with that in mind, May, we knew it was probably going to be this way, but tell me what you think the plot of Gremlins is.
All right. So this is going to be a big old mess because I often get Gremlins and Labyrinth confused. And
Even better.
And I also haven't seen Labyrinth all the way through, just some scenes. So, I have this feeling David Bowie's in it. I don't think that's correct.
Go with your gut.
And I imagine I'm going to lean on ET some here too. But all right, so Gremlin is about a family at Christmas time. There's a child in this family. And the child and or children of this family discovers some kind of object or like maybe an egg that eventually spawns this little Furby looking creature called a gremlin. And it's very cute while being like slightly creepy and very like maniacal, but in a fun, like quirky, like mischievous way. And there is some greater magical force that wants the gremlin back for some reason. And the kids get wrapped up in trying to save the gremlins. There's lots of hijinks. I'm sure a Christmas tree gets like lit on fire or something at some point. Uh, I really have no idea. If anyone wants to toss me a bone, how to get a conclusion.
Let me ask you, so not to spoil anything with the film, but if I were to tell you there's 3 rules for the Gremlins, like tell me what you think the 3 rules are. There's 3 rules that come into play in this movie significantly. So you have to make those up now.
Oh, this is like the
These-
best Mad Libs ever.
These are going to be wildly incorrect.
That's okay. What's the point?
Rule 1 of the Gremlins is you never say their name out loud 3 times.
Okay, good rule. Good rule.
Nice.
Rule 2 of the Gremlins is you don't feed them because hey, any critter you feed, it's coming back. You're stuck with that critter now. Rule 3, if you want to get rid of gremlins, I don't know, you make your shoes taste bad. I'm just thinking they're like dogs.
You put some like lemon rind or something in there.
Yeah.
Spray them with some of that shoe spray.
Mothballs, maybe. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's the 3 rules of gremlins. You heard it here first.
You know, I won't tell you which rule you got right, but you got one of them pretty close, actually.
Okay.
Yep. I mean, there's like a little bit more to one of the rules than what you said, but like not bad. Like genuinely,
Yeah.
like I would say overall, like you did okay with the plot. Like there was definitely some accuracies there. I'd say
Okay.
about like 40% was correct. Would you say, Will? Like
Yeah.
40-ish?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't give you guys a conclusion though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. How does
Yeah,
it
what
all,
happens
how
at
does
the
it all
end?
come to an end?
At the end, the gremlins are apparently all gone. There's been some kind of family drama subplot that has been addressed, and there is now greater unity and understanding and peace among the family. But then just when you think the movie's over, you see a little gremlin popping out of the corner, so you know there's going to be sequels.
Yep. There was a sequel to Gremlins called Gremlins 2 The New Batch, which surprisingly a lot of people I think they're wrong, but like I can see why prefer to the original Gremlins, and even like critically like Leonard Maltin appeared in Gremlins 2 as himself because he hated Gremlins and he loved the idea of Gremlins 2, which is super meta, like probably one of the first like truly like meta films. Both are worth your time, and I hope you watch them this holiday season because they're a lot of fun.
I have to know the rules now, so yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I might put, well, I have to edit this like tonight because it's going out tomorrow, but like I should put the actual rules up side by side as you say them. Oh, actually, though, it'll be a spoiler. I don't want to spoil this for you. Because you should watch Gremlins, but not bad. You know what, May Finch? Like, not bad at all. I think you did
Thank
pretty
you.
good. This is a really, really great movie. It's got amazing puppetry work of all the Mogwai and the Gremlins, which are, I guess, like, no, Will, like, again, spoiler free, would you consider them the same species? Is it just like a kind of like, caterpillar becomes a butterfly kind of thing, or would you consider them like different species of things? I guess they're the same species, right?
Yeah, they transition. So.
Transition. Okay. Yeah. But yeah, it is amazing, and just I don't know. It's a good Christmas film. And the second one, if you just want something meta, it's set at New Year's, like, so it's like kind of a perfect movie to watch like after Gremlins, like especially like if you're done with Christmas, because it is set around that time of year. But well done.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, that brings us to the end of this week's episode. We have one more to go before the end of the year, and then we'll be taking a couple of month break while we recharge, rest, and really probably attempt to like reformat the podcast a little bit. We got some ideas kicking around. But to be honest, like it's always nice to have a little bit of a break from endeavors, even when they're a hobby that's as lovely as this one. So more to come on that next week. But our final film of the year and our final holiday film is a Chris pick. And as cliche as it is, and yes, I know it's overdone, and I know you've seen all the memes and you've probably watched it a dozen times, some of you, but It's a Wonderful Life is probably my favorite Christmas film. And I think there's good reason why it has endured all this years. It makes me cry every time. Like, I mean, unabashedly. I think it's a lovely message. And it's one of the all-time great performances in a Christmas film. I was watching Jimmy Stewart go from a broken man to just ecstatic at the end. It's amazing. So if you've not seen it, I'm excited for you because it is really, really a great film. A little long in the tooth. Like last time I watched it, I was like, kind of wish this was in the tight 90 category, but it's 2 hours. But other than that, I think it's a perfect film. And I think, as I remarked upon once before, it endured partly because it kind of fell into a weird like public domain territory for a while, and it was free for network television to show on TV, and kind of maintained a life all of its own. Like, even though it wasn't like the most popular film when it came out, people kind of rediscovered it and loved it. And I hope you do too. Have both of you seen this film before, or is this going to be a first time for either of you?
I've not seen it all the way through because I would also catch bits and pieces of it on network TV. So I imagine I have seen all of it in pieces spread out across my lifetime. But I've not
Sure.
had a dedicated viewing yet.
Okay. And Will, how about
Yeah,
you?
it's been a while, but yeah, it's probably been, high school probably. But I have seen it before. It'll be nice to watch again because I think I've forgotten a good chunk of it.
This goes fantastically with like a good robe and some PJs and some hot cocoa. Like, it is that kind of movie. So like, I encourage you
Nice.
to get cozy and watch it. But yeah, I look forward to hearing what you both think. And audience, we'll see you next week as we talk about It's a Wonderful Life. Thanks for hanging out with us yet another week. You can find us on X at ScreenQuest Pod. And we love you. Thank you for your support. Bye.
Bye, guys.